Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr, and this is episode 189, and it is part 6 of A Stranger in Goldenlode. And I hope you're enjoying the story so far, and we've got more of it this week. Here we go. The next few days were quiet. Sam knew he had shown his hand. All he could really do is keep an eye out and hope that his informers would scare up something. He kept checking for new people in town. Some came, none were any threat. Late on Sunday night, nearly a week since Richard Dunning's arrival, he thought he heard footsteps outside his house. He waited a moment, expecting a knock, but none came. "Daisy?" he asked, thinking she might have returned. But there was no answer, and he heard no more footsteps. He pulled on his boots and threw on his heavy coat and opened the door, holding his pistol in his hand. "Anyone out there?" he asked. There was no reply. He walked out and listened hard, but there was no sound. He walked around his house, but saw nothing. He went back to bed. Next morning, there was nothing new and no one in town. Sam decided it was time to have another talk with Dunning. He camped out and waited. When midday came and Dunning had not shown himself, Sam went to Tom and asked him if he had been down earlier. "Haven't seen him all day, Sam." "He hasn't eaten?" "He had food sent up to him first thing this morning." "I see. Does he have any further such arrangements?" "No." "Tom, you know that though I stay in your dining hall a lot, I try to keep my real business away from the Nugget as much as possible." Tom looked a little nervous. "What are you saying, Sam?" "With your permission, I'd like to go up and have a chat with him now." Tom sighed. "Sure, Sam. You've always done square by me." Sam went upstairs. He knew which room Dunning had. He knocked. There was no answer. Sam was about to knock again when he heard Dunning from inside. "Are you visiting me, Sam Lockart?" "Yes, Mr. Dunning. I'd like you to open the door." Another long pause. "Very well." The wait was longer than he was expecting, but Dunning opened the door. "Please, enter." Dunning stepped back and gestured for Sam to come in. Sam waited just a moment before doing so. "I think it's time you moved on from Goldenlode," Sam said. He was looking Dunning right in the eyes, and Dunning was holding his ground. "That's not your decision to make," Dunning said. "Nevertheless, I am making it," Sam replied. "Last I checked, it's a free country. Man can make his living when and where he pleases. And I haven't made up my mind about this town yet." "That no longer matters." "And if I refuse," Sam smiled, "nobody refuses me once I make up my mind. But I have business here already. You have until next Sunday to wrap it up and leave town." "I see. Well, perhaps by then you'll have changed your mind." "Don't count on it." "Unless there's anything else, Mr. Lockart?" "No, nothing." Sam opened the door and left, neither man saying goodbye. Sam kept his eye out for Dunning, but found nothing for a few days. Dunning kept to his room and had his meals brought up to him. Whatever business he was wrapping up, Sam thought, it didn't take a lot of talking over. On Wednesday, John Mannard, the undertaker, and Doc Sullivan fell ill. Both had some sort of pox. Panic gripped the town. By Thursday, there were 25 cases. Most of them were severe. On Friday, Sam started to feel ill. He went to Doc Sullivan, who was now gravely ill himself. He couldn't see him as a patient, but confirmed that some poxes could be spread by rats. "There's rats all over town," Sam said. "I've seen them." Well, they come and go. That's just how it is in towns, Doc said. Not this time, Sam said. Get better, Doc. He bundled himself back up and walked back home. He spent the latter part of Friday in bed. He found several flea bites on his legs. Damnation, he said aloud. Saturday, he had a terrible fever. He drank water and got down as much food as he could stomach. He stayed in bed and did his best to keep his stove fire going strong. He wondered if he'd be seeing his wife again soon. He drifted in and out of sleep, having various dreams that made little sense even to him. He did recognize a number of men he'd run out of town and the 3 he'd shot dead. He also saw the glassy eyes of his wife, as he had seen them when he had returned home that awful day. No one could tell him why she had died. The thoughts of her, while regular, had become less frequent over the intervening few years. But something about this awful sickness had made him almost obsess about her, living and dead. Sunday came, and with it a knock at the door. "I'm sick. Can't come to the door," Sam called out from his bed. "A shame," came a voice, and Sam could tell it was Richard Dunning. "I was hoping I could get your go-ahead to stay in town." "Nothing has changed," Sam croaked. "Hasn't it?" Richard said. "I'd beg to differ. The warm and humane undertaker John Manor died overnight, so I'm told. This town requires my services. I'll be saying." Sam didn't say anything. He was in shock. "I'll take your silence as consent," Richard said. "Good day and good health, Mr. Lockart." He listened to his footsteps quickly fade away, and soon fell back into another feverish sleep full of uncomfortable dreams, full of dead men, rats, and his wife. And that's the end of the episode for this week, although not quite the end of the story. We had a nice turn this week, but there is still more to write. So I'm hoping to see you again next week. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, and thanks for listening. Words and music copyright 2021 CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.